Okay, so the UK government has been, well, kind of sneaky.
Sneaky,
Yeah,
yeah.
they made a pretty big change to how some migrants can become citizens, and they didn't exactly, like, announce it to the world.
You're saying they kept it quiet.
Super quiet,
Yeah.
no big announcements, no debates in parliament, nothing. So what's the deal? Why so hush-hush? That's what we're going to look at today in this deep dive into, well, basically a YouTube video.
A YouTube video.
Yeah, a YouTube video that, like, really breaks down all this stuff.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. The YouTuber is Tochi Esther, and she covers all things UK immigration, super knowledgeable, and she found this like updated guidance document for the people who actually, look at all the citizenship applications.
So like the caseworkers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what it boils down to is this. If you came to the UK illegally, like at any point, your chances of becoming a British citizen after February 10th, 2025 are, well, basically zero.
Hmm. That's a pretty significant change.
Right. And they're trying to say it's just a clarification, not an actual change in policy.
Clarification, huh? That seems, well, a bit misleading, don't you think?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, oh, this was always the rule. But Tochi points out that this clarification only applies to applications submitted after February 10th.
I see. So if it was really just a clarification, shouldn't it apply to everyone?
Exactly. That's what I thought.
It definitely raises some questions about their intentions.
For sure. And to really understand this whole thing, we got to remember how things work in the UK. Becoming a citizen, it's not automatic. It's like a specific process.
Right, it's called naturalization.
Yeah, naturalization. And you have to meet certain requirements, like living in the UK for a certain number of years, demonstrating good character, all that stuff.
Exactly. It's different from seeking asylum, which is what a lot of refugees do when they first arrive.
So it's not just about how you got into the country. It's about, like, what you do after you're there.
Precisely.
And to make things even more complicated, they've gotten really specific about what they consider illegal entry.
Really? How so?
Tochi breaks it down into two main scenarios that'll now automatically get your application rejected.
Okay, let's hear 'em.
First, arriving without the right entry clearance.
Mm-hmm.
Like a visa or travel
Yeah,
authorization.
that makes sense. Makes sense.
And then there's this whole dangerous journey thing.
Dangerous journey. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm listening.
So, like, the new guidance specifically says that traveling in small boats or being hidden in a vehicle, those count as dangerous journeys. And if you do that, you're ineligible for citizenship.
I see. So they're targeting specific methods of entry.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But here's the weird part. Arriving on a commercial airline without the right paperwork, somehow that's not considered dangerous.
Interesting. It seems like they were drawing a very specific line there.
It feels so random. Like, what's the logic behind that?
It does make you wonder about their true motives. If it was purely about upholding immigration law, any illegal entry would be treated the same, right?
Right.
But this focus on dangerous journeys, it seems more about controlling the image, the optics of the situation.
Like they're trying to look tough on immigration.
Perhaps. Cracking down on those visually dramatic arrivals, people arriving in small boats sends a strong message, even if it doesn't address the actual causes of illegal immigration.
It almost feels like they're targeting certain types of migrants rather than tackling the issue as a whole.
That's a valid interpretation.
And the timing of this is suspicious, to say the least. Like right before this new guidance came out, the leader of the Conservative Party, they're the opposition party, remember, announced his big plan to, cut down on migration.
Right, I remember that. It was all over the news.
And guess what was a big part of his plan? Preventing anyone who entered the UK illegally from ever becoming a citizen.
Yeah.
Like almost word for word what this guidance says.
Wow. So the timing of this new guidance, it's very interesting indeed. Is this the Labour government reacting to the Conservatives? Or are they trying to preempt them?
It's hard to say, isn't it?
It really is. It could be a reaction or maybe an attempt to, steal the Conservatives' thunder.
Maybe even some sort of, like, secret collaboration.
We're in deep reading between the lines territory here.
Definitely. It feels like there's so much more going on beneath the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
And this whole clarification thing, it feels like the tip of the iceberg.
Agreed. This seemingly small change, it has the potential to have huge implications.
Especially for refugees who maybe, entered the UK in a way that wasn't exactly by the book.
Exactly.
It's like we're talking about two different UKs, Like, on one hand, there's this image of a country that welcomes people in need, a place where you can rebuild your life.
A place of refuge.
Right. But then on the other hand, they're making it harder and harder to actually become a citizen.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contradiction.
Totally. And Tochi includes some reactions in her video from different groups, and it shows just how divided people are on this. She quotes the CEO of the Refugee Council, and they're basically saying this whole thing is, well, just plain cruel.
The Refugee Council has been pretty vocal about this. They argue that preventing people from becoming citizens, it actually goes against the whole idea of integration.
Makes sense.
Like, if you can't become a citizen, you can't vote, you might have fewer job opportunities.
You're basically stuck in this in-between place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that creates this constant anxiety because, you never really know what your future holds.
It's dehumanizing.
Yes. That's the word the Refugee Council uses, dehumanizing. And I think it's a powerful word because it reminds us that this isn't just about rules and paperwork. It's about how we treat people, especially those who are already vulnerable.
It makes you wonder, what kind of message this sends to the rest of the world.
It's a good question.
I mean, the UK has always, prided itself on being a safe haven, a place where we can seek asylum. But this new policy, it kind of suggests they're closing the doors.
It does seem like a step back from that welcoming image.
Yeah. But then Tochi also includes a statement from the Home Office, which is like part of the UK government, and they actually defend this change.
Oh, really? What do they say?
They say it's necessary to keep immigration under control, and to stop people from coming in illegally.
So their argument is about enforcing the rules.
Yeah, like they're saying it's important to protect the integrity of the immigration system and to make sure everyone becomes a citizen the right way.
So it's a matter of principle for them.
It seems like it.
It's interesting, isn't it?
What is?
Both sides have valid points.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Refugee Council, they're focused on, the human cost, the need for compassion.
And the Home Office is all about law and order, like keeping control.
It's that classic tension between compassion and control.
Which seems to be at the heart of every immigration debate.
Pretty much, yeah. It's about finding a balance, I guess.
A balance between, like, helping people and protecting, national interests. But the thing is, Tochi points out that public opinion on this is actually all over the place.
Really?
Yeah. Like, she mentions this poll that found that 62% of labor voters actually support letting refugees become citizens, no matter how they got to the UK.
So even within the Labour Party, there's a disconnect between what the people want and what the government is doing.
It seems that way.
It makes you wonder what's really driving this policy change.
Do you think it's all about politics? The Labour government trying to, like, one-up the Conservatives?
It's definitely possible. Immigration is a hot-button issue,
Always good for getting people riled up.
Exactly. Parties often use it to score points with voters.
So people's lives are basically being used as, like, pawns in a political game.
It's a cynical way to look at it, but it's not entirely implausible.
It's depressing.
It is. It highlights how these policy decisions, even the ones that seem bureaucratic, they can have a huge impact on real people's lives.
And Tochi actually reads a statement from a refugee who's directly affected by this change. And it's so sad.
What do they say?
This person talks about, how they escaped a war zone, spent years building a new life here.
They've put down roots.
Yeah. And now we're being punished for, trying to survive.
It's a cruel twist of fate.
Totally. And it just feels so unfair.
Yeah.
It's like the government saying, we want you to contribute, but we're not going to give you the same rights as everyone else.
It creates this sense of division.
Yeah, like you're not really welcome.
Exactly. It raises questions about what it truly means to be British. Is it just about following the rules? Or is it about something more?
Belonging.
Yes, belonging, contributing to society, sharing in the values of the UK.
But Tochi takes it even further.
What do you mean?
She suggests that maybe this whole thing is about more than just immigration.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
She's like, what if it's about controlling who gets to be British? Like shaping the face of British society in a very specific way.
That's a bold claim.
It is, but it makes you think, right?
It does. It suggests that the government's actions are about more than just policy. They're about identity.
Right. So what does this policy say about how the UK sees itself?
And what are the long-term consequences of that?
Yeah. Like, what kind of country does the UK want to be? We've barely scratched the surface here.
We haven't even begun to explore the full implications of this change.
This whole conversation has really, got me thinking, about the bigger picture.
The ripple effects.
Exactly. It's not just about who becomes British. It's about how this makes the UK look to the rest of the world.
Its global image.
Yeah. Like, is the UK really as welcoming as it says it is?
That's a question a lot of people are asking right now.
Yeah.
The UK has this reputation, as safe haven, a place where refugees can find a new life.
But this new policy kind of throws that into question.
Right, it does seem to contradict that image.
I get the Home Office's argument about following the rules, but is this really, like, the best way to stop illegal immigration?
That's debatable.
It seems like they're punishing people who are already here, people who are trying to, do the right thing.
That's the core of the dilemma, isn't it? How do you balance the need for law and order with the need for compassion?
It's tough.
And when it comes to refugees, people fleeing war and persecution, is deterrence really the right approach?
I mean, they're not thinking about immigration policies when they're, running for their lives.
Exactly. Their priority is survival.
Tochi actually has this part in her video about a family who came to the UK by boat, like a few years ago.
By boat.
Yeah. And the dad, he was a doctor in his home country.
Wow.
And now he's working as a nurse in the UK.
While he requalifies.
Exactly. And his wife's a teacher. The kids are doing well in school. They're obviously, like, contributing.
They sound like model citizens.
Totally. But now, because of this change, they can't become citizens.
It's hard to imagine how disheartening that must be for them. They've done everything right, built a life here, and yet the door is being slammed shut.
It just doesn't seem right.
It creates this sense of uncertainty, of not belonging.
And what about their kids? They grow up here, they're British in every way, but, like, officially.
It raises questions about identity, about what it really means to be British.
Yeah.
If it's all about following the rules, even when those rules are stacked against you, what does that say about the values of the country?
It makes it seem like there's, like, two kinds of British people.
A two-tiered system.
Yeah, where some people get full membership and others are kept on the outside.
Regardless of their character, their contributions.
And that can't be good for society, can it?
It breeds resentment, division. It undermines that sense of shared identity that holds a community together.
Tochi ends her video on a more positive note, though.
Oh.
Yeah, she encourages people to, stay informed, get involved in the conversation, and hold their politicians accountable.
She's reminding us that we have a voice, a responsibility to shape the kind of society we want to live in.
And that starts with understanding the issues.
Listening to different perspectives, being willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too. It's clear that this whole thing is about so much more than just immigration. It's about who we are, what we stand for as a nation.
What our values are.
Exactly. And as we move forward, it's crucial to have these conversations with empathy and a willingness to, really listen to each other. The choices we make now, they'll have a lasting impact on the UK, on everyone who calls it home.
So yeah, we can't just sit back and let others decide what kind of country we want. We all have a role to play.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you learned something, or at least, got you thinking a bit more about this whole thing.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
But that's why it's important to keep talking about it, to keep learning and challenging ourselves and each other. And hopefully, together, we can create a better future for everyone.